So yeah, this is one of the craziest laptops that we've ever taken a look at on the channel. And when GPD first announced this, I was a bit skeptical, but after getting my hands on it and using it for the last few days, I completely understand what they did here. Hey, what's going on everybody? It's etaprime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new GPD Duo. So as the name suggests, 2 for Duo, we've got a dual-screen laptop. And again, when they first announced this, when I first saw it, I was thinking to myself, what are they doing over there? But after messing around with it for a couple days, this thing has really grown on me. GPD didn't just throw two regular old LCD panels in here. What we've got are actually two 13.3-inch AMOLED displays, both with resolutions of 2880 by 1880, and they are 16 by 10 aspect ratio. And one of the coolest things here, in my opinion, that I wasn't aware of when they announced this was the top screen can actually be used as a separate monitor for a different device. Personally, this would come in really handy for me because when I'm traveling, I usually carry a portable monitor. With this, I can just bring the laptop itself. It does have a built-in kickstand to allow you to kind of prop this thing up, but to tell you the truth, I really haven't utilized it much because the hinge system that they're using here is top-notch. It'll hold these screens up no problem at all in basically any orientation. It's also got a full-size backlit chiclet style keyboard, and the trackpad here does work with PTP mode, which means it does support left and right button vibration feedback. Thought this was pretty cool. Kind of wish it was a bit larger, but with the form factor here, it would be hard to put a bigger trackpad in this unit. GPD also threw quite a lot of I/O at this laptop. It's some of the best that I've seen in a long time, given the form factor here. Over on the left-hand side, we've got a 3.5mm audio jack, full-size SD card slot, and this does support SD 4.0, USB 4, it'll run at a 40 gig protocol, full function USB Type-C. Over on the right-hand side, we've got two full-size USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, round back, gigabit Ethernet. We've also got HDMI, it's HDMI 2.1, and Oculink. So this will support external GPUs, whether you want to go the USB 4 Thunderbolt route or Oculink, be much faster that way. And of course, when it comes to the specs, this is actually packing the brand new AMD Ryzen Ai 9 HX 370, and this will run at full power, so it'll do up to 60 watts in this with their new cooling system. The unit that I have here has 64 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM at 7500 megahertz, but on their website they state they will be offering a 16 and a 32 gig model. With that new chip, we've got the Radeon 890M GPU based on RDNA 3.5, 16 compute units, and it'll run it up to 2900 megahertz. Two M.2 2280 PCIe 4.0 SSD slots, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.3, and this is running Windows 11, but you can always install Linux if you wanted to. We've got those dual 13.3-inch AMOLED displays, 16 by 10 aspect ratio, resolution of 2880 by 1880, 133% sRGB, 96% NTSC, 100% Adobe RGB, and 100% DCI-P3. They also have a 1 millisecond response time. The Duo is also packing an 80 watt-hour battery. It comes with a 100 watt quick charger in the box, and you can go from 0 to 50% in just 30 minutes. Within Windows, there's several ways to use these dual screens. I've actually got this as an extended display. Now, it will fold over on itself, and you can also use this in tablet mode. So we'll just go ahead and fold that top screen back. Once we close everything up, we've got our 13.3-inch display on the exterior here, making it basically a Windows-powered tablet. And by the way, this also supports a pressure-sensitive pen. Once this thing is all together, obviously that top screen actually folds in on itself, so it's going to protect it while you put it in a bag, but we can set this up in kind of display mode if you want to. But like I mentioned, this second display can also be used as a secondary monitor for a different device. I've got the Pixel 9 Pro here. We'll go ahead and plug it in. It does support video over USB Type-C. I've been using this quite a bit with the Samsung S24 and DeX mode. That way we've got separate monitors here, Windows on one, Android on the other, but you can basically plug in any device that supports video over USB Type-C here. I'm really glad they did this, and like I mentioned, I usually carry a portable monitor with me when I'm traveling, so now I can just bring the laptop itself. GPD really did design this for engineers who need a second display for, let's say, a terminal or even some type of monitoring system that you could run on a secondary monitor. But anybody could use something like this. For instance, let's say you wanted to get a tutorial out of the way. We've got it on the secondary monitor. We could go ahead and get the work done on the main monitor. I've just got a random 4K demo video running. It's actually 4K 60 HDR. I'm going to open up GIMP down here on my main screen for some photo editing. But yeah, you can run dual apps on this, and that AMD Ryzen HX 370 does have quite a lot of power. I mean, for most stuff that you want to throw at this. In fact, it does have that XDNA NPU, and with NPU power, iGPU, and CPU, when it comes to AI, it'll do up to 80 tops. But remember, we've got USB 4 and Oculink here, so if you really needed to hit up a GPU for AI tasks, you could always connect something like an NVIDIA card or even the GPD G1. With the G1 connected here, we've got up to 108 tops of AI performance, but you could go with something a bit more powerful, an RTX 4070 or up over Oculink or USB 4, and you'd have tons of power for AI. And speaking of power, I wanted to run some benchmarks on this thing, and the first one we have here is Geekbench 6, single core 2830, multi 15205. And with all of these tests, I'm using the high performance Windows profile, and they state that this will do up to 60 watts. The HX 370 here, I've seen it boost up to around 57 watts every once in a while. Checking out some GPU benchmarks, 3D Mark Night Raid 35,098, Firestrike 9,370, and finally TimeSpy with a 4,115. This new Radeon 890M really does put down some good performance. We've got 16 compute units as opposed to the older 780M's 12. And it's not just in these synthetic benchmarks. Real-world gaming is definitely improved. Forza Horizon 5, 1080p, high settings. We don't have any kind of FSR on, and this is one of those games that's very well optimized. It works great on these iGPUs, but even on the older 780M, we kind of had to resort to medium settings. Right now, we're full out high with this game, over 100 FPS on average. Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, medium, 1080p. I am using FSR 3.1 and FrameGen here. Looks great like it is. We're set to balanced and we're getting over 90 FPS. And finally, Cyberpunk 2077, I've got a low-medium mix going on, and usually when I run this game, I just take it down to low, add a little bit of FSR. Right now, I am using FSR 3 with no frame gen. I've got it set to balanced, and we're seeing an average of around 72 FPS. One of the main things I wanted to check out here was battery life, given that we've got two 13.3-inch AMOLEDs built in here. Now, I'm going to be testing with dual screens and a single screen. We're just checking out some 1080p YouTube video playback here. We can get a good idea of battery life with hardware info. The Ryzen Ai 9 HX 370 is a very efficient chip, and with both screens here set to 50% brightness with some YouTube video playback on one of them, we're pulling under 12 watts. Taking it down to a single screen, just disabling the top one there, we're under 8 watts of total power draw from the battery. And with this kind of information, we can get a good idea of what kind of battery life we're going to see, because we know for sure that we've got an 80 watt hour battery. And with both screens at 50% brightness, 1080p, YouTube video playback, which means we do have Wi-Fi enabled, we're streaming. Dual screen, 12 watt total draw from the battery, around 6 hours and 40 minutes. Single screen mode, only 7 watts, which will give us around 11 hours and 25 minutes. Now there are ways to get more out of this. With native 1080 playback, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, we could probably see around 14 hours of battery life out of this thing with a single screen. And another thing to keep in mind is it supports that 100 watt quick charging, so 0 to 50% in 30 minutes. So far, the GPD DUO has been pretty awesome, and I've been able to get more use out of it than I initially thought I would with those dual screens. Love the fact that we can use that second screen as an external monitor for different devices. Much better battery life than I thought, given that we do have dual screens here, and it really comes down to the optimizations they did and the HX 370 from AMD. It's a really efficient chip, great CPU performance, 12 cores, 24 threads, awesome iGPU performance, and with this, we do have Oculink, so we can always connect a much larger GPU. If you're interested in seeing a video like that, let me know in the comments below. I wouldn't mind coming back to this thing. And if you want to learn a little more about this, I'll leave some links to their official website in the description. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. And like always, thanks for watching.